Yo, what's going on, everyone? It's Vosk. I'm here with Miss Vosk, and we're about to tour a Navy shipyard that has been repurposed, or part of it, into a mining farm. Pretty cool stuff.
You know, we just slowly over the course of a year refurbished the whole place and turned it into a Bitcoin mine, one step at a time.
This is the future. Human error. Evolution. This is the future.
These mining farm tours are brought to you in part by Crypto.com, specifically their Earn app, which is available to pretty much everyone throughout the world. All you got to do is put your coins in there and you can earn interest on them. You don't have to buy anything, but there is a sign-up bonus if you complete the terms, and you will get $25 for free. Well, you got to complete the terms. Check out our link in the video description below. Hey guys, what's going on? It's Vosk, the VoskCoin YouTube channel. I'm here with
Brett Garman
of the
Blockyard.
And today we're gonna be talking about his mining farm. It's a pretty cool setup, really unique. It's in a basically decommissioned Navy yard, and he's taken that extra space and turned it into, well, I already told you, a crypto mining farm. All right, Brett, so could you just tell us, I mean, really just your story. How'd you end up here, and what kind of trials and tribulations did you go through setting up your mining farm?
I worked in air traffic control for 16 years, and one day I was watching a TED Talk and they were talking about Merkle trees, and I was like, oh, what's a Merkle tree? And so I Googled it, and one thing led to another. Next thing you know, Bitcoin pops up on my screen on the phone, and I'm like, oh, that's interesting. So that was back in 2014, 15 area. So I really got into it back then, and then in 2017 things started to pick up, and I was like already a believer then, and I was like, well, I'm gonna buy a miner. So I started with one ASIC in my office at home. My wife wasn't very happy about that, so I started looking for a place, and I found one in the back of an old music shop in Mount Pleasant, and it could only do 12 miners, but I ran out of there for a few months while I was looking for another place, and I came down to two locations, this one being one and the other one was a helicopter repair factory in Connecticut. Well, I already lived here, so I chose this one, and this place was abandoned, and we had to do some major work to get it usable. You know, we just slowly over the course of a year refurbished the whole place and turned it into a Bitcoin mine, one step at a time.
Fancy now, man.
Yeah, so this is the mine. So this is our return fan that we no longer need. In fact, I learned a lot of things not to do when building a mine. And one of the things is you need to figure out what works for your property, because every property is going to be different and every airflow situation is different. And the key to the whole thing is airflow. You should know that. You got to get that heat out as fast as possible. So this fan does 40,000 CFM. I bought 3. I only needed 2 because it pulls the air in naturally by itself. The 2 exhaust fans pull all the air it needs from the cracks and everything. And because this is 30,000 square feet, there's plenty of cracks and holes. I didn't need to cut this, and this was a lot of work.
Yeah.
Took us 3 days to get this in here.
Did you do that yourself?
Yeah. Well, me and my brother.
Yeah.
Yeah. Over here, we were building. So I built more vents over here. And so I'm going to turn these into windows. You can see over here. But I thought it needed all this airflow. But you can see we're on a shipyard. If you can get out, can you see out there? We're actually on a shipyard. That's what we call it, the Blockyard.
That's so cool.
But you don't need it. And this was going to be a conference room.
Like unique selling point to your farm. And who else is in a shipyard?
Nobody. So, yeah. So this place has 480 3-phase power and 230 3-phase power, then 110 208, and that runs my fans off of 480. That's the only 480 I have now. The rest drops down into transformers that I'm about to show you, and drops it down to 240, so you can run.
Our videos this month are sponsored by Compass. They are aiming to be the industry's best Bitcoin mining marketplace. They have an international procurement team, so they're able to get all the ASICs, you know, those ASIC mining rigs, new and used, and they're trying to get them to you at the best prices possible. They also offer hosting services through their network of co-location facilities, again, aiming to bring you the best hosting deals possible here in the cryptocurrency mining industry.
So I'll take you down this way. It's a little dark, but I'm going to take you into the heating aisle to show me my other 2 fans, my exhaust fans. Each one's 40,000 CFM. So I have a total of 80,000 CFM pulling through this place. It's a little hot in here. So these are my babies. This is Thelma and Louise.
Thelma and Louise?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. That's the lifeblood. Without them, the mine fails. So I have a spare motor sitting over here in case one of them blows.
Yeah.
Ready to go. I just wanted to show you the hot aisle, because in the beginning you have to think about static pressure and everything. So I cut holes in there to regulate. When I had a full mine, you had to open that up because there was too much. The equilibrium was off. You needed to have a positive versus negative pressure. You probably know all that already. But so right now I'm at 50% capacity, so I plug up the vents. And that's why you see those holes there. That's how I regulate the static pressure. Yeah. And these were pre-cut. They're ready to go for more miners. We cut it because we didn't want to have sawdust flying around with what the other mines, so we just pre-did it. So all you have to do is cut them out and put in the mine. But like I said, if I could redo it, I wouldn't use plywood on any of this. All you need is the struts. You just come straight out. So you don't need to block all this off. So you can just go straight. You can tell those are dragons. They're red. The green are S9s. And these are GPUs. And those are Zcash ASICs. I got minis, Z9s, and a Z11. S17s. These are my S17s.
Those are your breadwinners, man.
Yeah, those will be around for a while. I've already had one fail. I just sent it back for a warranty. They sent me a brand new one. Yeah, so if I need to vent, I'll pull these down and that'll let air rush through and it'll just take it out and around like that. It'll bend around and that'll relieve pressure from the front. So when you have more miners, you have to start doing that. Because these things pull, each ASIC is between 200 and 300 CFM per ASIC. So you can just do the math and you figure out what you need. And then what I learned is you don't need air conditioning to cool these things if you have fast air. It's all about get faster air.
Yeah, I'm out on my place the same way after like the basically what I saw was like the Chinese mining farms and like none of these guys have AC, they just blow air.
Right.
And it's hot air.
Yep.
But hot air is better than really hot air.
Yeah, and as long as it's going fast, it doesn't matter. I've run at 95 degrees in here, ambient air.
Yeah.
I'm lazy. The door's actually down there.
No, it's awesome.
Anyway, here's mine. Make yourself at home. I gotta say something about the cord management. I'm working on it. It looks like crap, but this was the first part. This is how that one guy told me how to do it. And then I was like, that's stupid. Why don't you just do it this way and hardwire them? Look how much nicer that looks.
Yeah.
That's clean.
Honestly, that's much more professional.
And it's cheaper because you don't need the socket, the plugs.
Yeah.
So what I'm thinking about doing is making this will be good for GPUs, right? All GPUs, take these and move them all down here. So I got all these racks. So I could just shift everything and I could bring it down here and stretch it out. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
And then use GPUs down there, and these will all be ASICs here. And I just have to make longer pigtails to come over here, and that can work. These are A3s I use for parts.
Yeah. That's what they're good for.
Yeah. I took all the grills off because you don't need them. Well, airflow, and plus they get rusty. They look like crap. You don't really need them unless you got kids, but you shouldn't have kids around this anyway because you will cut your finger on that. I had one guy that was up here working, he was bleeding pretty bad. Yeah.
I was wondering, I haven't had the pleasure of having it happen to me yet.
Another tip for your viewers is these fans fail. These power units fail about after a year or so. All you have to do is replace the fan and they work again. And the fans are like $1.50 a piece. So I got a box of fans and you don't have to buy a whole new piece.
Where'd you get the fans from?
Alibaba or just get them on.
What size are they? Like
They're all different sizes. This is a different size than the Bitmain ones. So that's the My Rig when they came out. They don't make these anymore. So if I replace this fan, this would work. These are all dead. I just don't need them right now, so I haven't replaced them. What I will do when I have time, which will probably never be never, I'll replace them and try to sell them on eBay or something. I was actually thinking about putting a little minor surplus shop on my website, just to sell random stuff I don't need anymore. You know?
That'd be the go-to thing for like people who want to like get into it a little bit. They want to dabble. It's like it's a win for you offloading some old gear or miscellaneous or like extra of those fans and stuff.
Yeah, stuff like that.
It's like I'd rather buy from you than someone down on eBay or like Alibaba.
Yeah, because you know me. Oh yeah, rust. Yeah, because of the humidity.
Yeah.
That's worse than the heat. I've noticed when humidity gets above 80%, even though the specs say 95% they can run, anytime it goes above 80%, they'll start failing. These things will die. So I have a humidity monitor. It's called a Canary. Ironically, Canary in a coal mine. But the Canary works great because it has a humidity monitor, has a camera, and it has air quality monitor. So it detects fires and stuff. And it sends you a text message when it passes the threshold. So I get a text when it reaches 75% humidity. If it goes above, then I'm start watching it. And I'm like, so the way you battle humidity in a mine like this, you kill one of the fans. And it lets a feedback loop of hot air. So hot air burns up the humidity, drops it. It raises the temperature, but it never happens in the summer. It always happens this time of year. It gets humid because the winter or whatever. So it's usually about 80, between 70 and 80 degrees, and it works out perfect. So now I know how to control the humidity. But that was just through trial and error.
So how many miners do you have in your facility right now, and what are you mining?
I'm mining Zcash, Ethereum, Bitcoin. Yeah, that's it right now. But I have mined some other protocols that I changed, like CryptoCom. Had some ASIC drama, and I just abandoned ship on CryptoCom.
No pun intended.
So that's what I'm mining. And the amount of miners I have are decreasing because I've had them. They've been running strong, but it's been almost 2 years now. I mean, I don't even know anymore. If you count the S17s that I just got, and then I have another batch coming like this week of S9s. I got cheap. It's probably 130 ASICs plus 40 GPUs, and then the Zcash ASICs, which are dying. Don't buy the Zcash ASICs. They don't last very long. I don't. Not even a year. They're dead. Over half of them.
So, Brett, what was the first miner you got that you talked about getting in 2017, and then when you had your 12 miner farm, what did that consist of, and
right.
how'd that go? Well,
the Litecoin, the L3 came out around that time, so I got one of those because it's pretty profitable at that point. And
how much was it making back then? Do you remember? Just roughly.
$600 a month.
Yeah.
So I was making $600 a month off of it, and I was like, well, let's look at. And S9s weren't making that much, so I was like, well, I'll start with the Litecoin. But then I got a bunch of S9s because I learned more about how fast, when an ASIC comes on the market, how fast it depreciates the coin. It really drops the price pretty quickly. So if you're not getting in the first or second batch of a new release, it's not worth doing it. So I learned that. That was like my first lesson, and I didn't risk a lot, so I did it right.
Yeah.
I didn't get FOMO. But then when I discovered S9's been around for a while, pretty reliable, I started buying a bunch of those, and then the Dragon Mints came out in November of that year, and I pre-ordered a bunch of those. So I had a bunch of Dragons coming, and I knew I needed a place to put them, and that music shop wasn't going to do it. So this place had a 0.5 megawatt instantly available. So I came in here and just started mining. It only took me 2 months to get set up. We were here all day long, every day, 6 a.m. to 8 at night. I mean, it was crazy. We can go this way. So this is my VPN. This is how I control the mine remotely. So just get dumb switches. You don't need it. Get a $100 laptop, plug it into your router. This runs everything. And it goes out to my 48 port switches, and then my VPN's on here, so I remote in. And I'm only using DSL. I only have, this mine runs off of 6 megabytes per second DSL.
That'd be really
you should know that you can run 150 ASIC miners off of 1 megabyte. So when I first started this, I had math, just like each one has a rate that it needs. The upload packet flow, you figure out what that rate is. I don't know it off the top of my head, but I figured it out at one point, and that's what it came out to be. So I know 150 equals 1 megabyte. So I was running this off of a mobile hotspot because I didn't have internet up here at first. But now we have 1 gigabyte a second, so I don't have anything to worry about. This is my first office. So I wanted to explain what my first plan was, because things never go the way you want them to. When we first opened this up, this was not here, this wall. The idea was this wall was not here either. So we found this abandoned elevator shaft. I don't know if you're gonna be able to see in the dark. There's an elevator shaft here, and it hasn't been used in like 20 years. So the second guy in charge of this place was like, yeah, you can use that, no problem. So we're like, all right, we're gonna build a frame. We're gonna put 4 of those big fans in it, and we're gonna pull the hot air out through here. It goes up to the roof, and it bends out like a chimney.
That's like genius.
It's like, we're gonna have a chimney. And so we built the whole mine based on that, and we went to open it up. I'm like, okay, we need to open it up now. And they're like, no, you can't. I was like, well, I just built the whole mine. So then we were like, well, I'm gonna have to cut holes in the wall then. So we cut all those holes in the wall that you saw before, the vents. So I installed some generators back there that will not run the mine, but they'll run everything else. So this is kind of like a storm shelter too. And I have that tape hanging down because that tape right there that you're holding back will, as long as it's sucking in, that means the carbon dioxide is going that way. So if I run it, I put a camera right here so I can check and see if it's blowing out. Then that means the carbon dioxide is escaping into the room.
That's a cool system.
So this would be a good shot. These transformers step it down from 480 to 240. So both of those, and then those 3 boxes right there are the 230, 220 feed. So I have 2 different feeds. That just takes me back to that point about airflow. You got to have strong airflow, and I'll just show you how strong to demonstrate. I don't put this stuff up with anything. It sticks on its own. That's how strong the airflow is. So that's my air filters. So just to give you a visual reference.
That's cool.
What was the biggest challenge that you had to overcome in order to get where you are now?
The biggest challenge
Yeah.
would be getting the electrical that you need. Finding electric at a rate that's below 6 cents is very hard to do, especially in this part of the country. And then when you do find it, the infrastructure, none of the infrastructure or electricians know anything about constant load really, unless they've worked on a data center before. So to find a special person to do that is very tough. So I never found one. I learned with a master electrician who was certified, built everything to code, and did an excellent job learning about upgrading. We put a whole new infrastructure in here using higher than normal gauge to that constant load. It's all about heat distribution, so you really got to be careful or you're going to be melting. We did have some problems we fixed, so you really got to have someone that knows what they're doing, that's putting your infrastructure in. Just don't take your garage, the breaker in your box, and split it off to a disconnect and run 4 or 5 miners 24/7. You're going to burn your house down if your breaker doesn't trip, if you don't do the right thing. It's not just a hobbyist type of thing. You have to be very careful. It is a hobbyist thing, but if you're going to do it at this scale, get someone that's certified.
Okay, so what did you have to learn or teach yourself in order to set up a mining facility like this? Could anybody do it?
If you're a hard worker, You can do it. If you stay focused, you can do it. But I would highly recommend start small and work your way up. Start with like a 100 amp panel. Learn about electricity first, because that's the key. That's your bread and butter. So learn all about the rates in your county, and it's all online. This county has like 20 some rates schedules. Learn how to negotiate all that stuff before you even start. When you figure all that out, and then you figure out your costs, your building costs, just double it. Even though you think you have it figured out, just double it to be safe. And if you're still happy with that number, then go for it. And don't give up, and it'll take about a year to get where you want to go. So, but to answer your question, how did I learn? Most of it through videos like y'all's videos, and just Googling stuff and figuring it out, trial and error, playing around with different protocols. Like, I think I started out with NiceHash, then they got hacked, and I was like all pissed off about it. So I never went back to NiceHash after that. I didn't lose much, but that's another thing. When you run at scale like this, you need to set all your IPs to static. Don't use DHCP. Use static. Because if you go to DHCP, the power goes out and it comes back on, you don't know where any of your miners are. You have to go through every one and rewrite them down. So after the first time of that happening, you're like, go on to static IPs. And even now, sometimes you'll have an overlap if you forget where one is, and you're like, why is this miner only hashing at 4 terahashes? And then it's because it's sharing an IP, they'll bounce back and forth. So that's like something I spent days trying to figure out. I was like, why is this miner not working? And that's why. It was getting blocked by another. They were competing for the packets were kind of competing over the network. So you have to be really careful with your networking when it comes to that. But it's not hard. You don't need a smart switch. Get the $100 switch. You're fine. Like, you got to watch out for these firmware upgrades, because some of them have, like, I don't know if you've heard of Antbleed. Well, they have different versions of that developers can put in, and they can take a little, so I have some that I'm pretty sure people are bleeding off of me, but I just don't feel like spending the time to find it on my network, because I have a lot on my network, So that's how I learned that. And then I have partners that help, and I have a lot of people. I have a lot of people around me that are a lot smarter than I am. So that helps out a lot. But the key is hard work. Just hard work. Never giving up. That's the key.
I want to say thanks to immersionsystems.io for sponsoring the VoskCoin mining farm tour video series. Without them, this wouldn't have been possible at all. If you watched episode 1 of season 1, then you will have seen us tour Mark's mining farm, where he utilizes Immersion Systems immersion cooling setup. Top quality gear, and Mark was one of their first customers, and so he's one of their oldest customers, and he couldn't be happier with it. Originally made for their own personal mining farms that they've now brought to market. If you want to set up, reach out to him. Thanks to Scott Alford and his custom PDU for making this mining farm tour possible.